Am I the butthole for refusing to return a computer I bought after the store called and told me that I paid the wrong price for it? Last week, I went to a local pawn shop to sell some stuff. While I was there, I was window shopping and saw that they had a computer for $89. I only really use a computer for YouTube or websites, and my laptop is pretty old, so I tested this computer. Everything worked, so I bought it. The next day, I got a call and it was from the manager of the shop. He was very rude from the start and told me that the computer was labeled incorrectly and told me, didn't ask, rudely ordered me, to come in that day and either A, return the computer, or B, pay the difference. I asked what the difference was and he said over $800. I guess it was supposed to be labeled $899. I said I'd think about it and he said that if I wasn't in by the end of the day, he'd just charge my card the amount. I told him that he can't do that, and he said if I didn't bring it in, or pay the difference, he was going to ban me from the store and also call the police for theft. I just said I'd think about it again. I think he was mad cause the last thing he said to me was, listen, bitch, either bring it in or go to jail, your choice. Or you decide. Something like that. Then ended the call. I don't think the police can even do anything because the price sticker is still on the computer and I have a receipt of the transaction for the $89, and there's probably also camera footage of me buying it, and he must have a record of the purchase too. It's not my fault that he or an employee labeled it incorrectly, and it's not like I knew it was a wrong price when I bought it. I just saw a cheap computer that worked and bought it. I asked my friend who's into computers to look at it and see if it's actually worth that much or if this guy's just trying to scam me or something, and he said that the parts are pretty high-end and expensive. I don't think I did anything wrong, but my friend said that I should take it back, so I don't know. NTA, personally I'd be calling the police to report that you were threatened by this person and now you don't feel safe. Yup, absolutely. He wants to throw around threats, file a police report. Right, good grief? If a small business calls and explains, sadly we sold you an item that was marked incorrectly, would you please bring it back, we can't afford to lose this much money. Boom, most decent people will bring it back. If a small business calls and threatens to charge my card without my consent, threatens to call the cops and lie to them, threatens to send me to jail and calls me a bitch? Yeah, that's going to be a no from me, dog. I will not be setting foot into that shop ever again. NTA. My mom bought a bunch of stuff and a vacuum from Walmart once, and the cashier didn't ring up the vacuum. My mom didn't notice till she got home and called the store. The manager told her if she set foot in the store they would charge her with theft. My mom paid cash and didn't tell the store her name, so she kind of just laughed and hung up. That was probably 2 decades ago, and she wasn't arrested. That's so effed up. She called them to let them know and they threatened her? I did a big grocery shop years ago. One item rolled under another and was skipped by the cashier. I went back to pay for it when I noticed as I was putting the shopping in the car. I approached the manager, explained what had happened, and was promptly escorted by security to the back room, accused of shoplifting, arrested and formally charged. The charges were thankfully eventually dropped, but I could have had my entire future destroyed for trying to do the right thing. I'm still salty about it. ETA, obligatory thanks for the gold, this blew up. RIP inbox, etc. I'm flattered and kind of amazed. I feel bad that so many people seem to have been a bit freaked out by my experience. Just to explain a few things real quick, this was a student town, 15 years or so ago, in a country I'm reasonably sure most people commenting don't live in, not in North America or the UK. They had a lot of shoplifting, therefore a zero-tolerance policy. The cops were not happy with having to book me because it was a complete waste of resources. I'd like to think that my story, and the similar ones, are outliers among folks who are mostly gracious and understanding about these things. And then we wonder why people don't want to do the right thing. The other night, the mom and daughter in front of me at the grocery store left a bag behind. I noticed and called out just as they were walking out the door and ran after them to hand it to the daughter. Another lady in the self-checkout seemed really pleasantly surprised and told me that was really nice of you. I responded, oh, of course. With a smile. I had a mask on though, so I guess she didn't see, but I was thinking to myself, isn't that what any decent person would do? Now I'm doubting my thought process. Not going to lie, when I first started reading this I thought it was going to end with you saying the mom flipped on you for chasing after them. I'm glad that's not the case. And yes, that would be any decent person's first instinct. But considering how I was expecting the story to go, I'm not sure if I'm overly cynical, or if people really are that nasty. One story made the expat news in Korea. A foreigner saw a kid walking extremely far behind his parents through the parking lot. He saw a car start driving towards the kid and didn't see him. The foreigner pulled the kid out of the way of the car. The parents yelled at the foreigner, called the cops, and the cops tried to force him to apologize for touching the child. He refused, and they arrested him. A couple months ago I ran after a woman because she left her wallet at the cash register. She was thankful, but the two employees at the register just gave me a weird look. Lamau, did they expect you to go ooh free money right in front of them, the witnesses? People actually do that? I mean, I've been known to have some shaky morals sometimes, but my anxiety would simply not allow me to openly be so criminal. I had someone drop a 50 when paying. I went to point it out to them and someone else picked it up and put it in their front pocket. I called them out on it, told the man, and the person who picked up called me a bitch. They were just mad that they got called out. You're a good person. Kind of, yes, any decent person would, but most stores don't. I worked at a department store, very cheap, and if people left bags behind, we weren't supposed to say anything. Then after 2 days, in a hidden spot from customers, if no one claimed it, then we could put it back on the floor to be resold over and over again. So yes, any decent person would, but sometimes bad management tells you to resell it or lose your job. I was at a Christmas market one year, and in a gift shop I noticed someone had broken a glass decoration and I didn't want anyone to cut themselves, so I found a store associate and told her what I found. And she goes, "Oh, did you find it or did you break it, and now you're trying to cover it up by telling me you found it?" In the rudest, most condescending tone ever. That put me off from doing the right thing for so long, lol. That person sounds absolutely miserable. What a dramatic employee. I worked at a Marshall's. People broke stuff constantly. It's not a big deal, that's why store have insurance. I only recall some trivial crap once. I don't know what the item was anymore or anything. But 2 girls had just dropped something on the floor, and I picked it up. They immediately accused me of stealing it. At the time I was so confused, saying something to the tune of, "I'm giving it back to you." Because it was on the floor? Then I just looked confused, and wandered off without saying anything else that I recall. It was something stupidly inconsequential, a la in the realm of kinder egg surprise. Not that it stopped me from continuing to try and be a decent person. But that was such a confusing experience. That's crazy. I worked at a supermarket years ago, and an older couple brought back a microwave because they realized it hadn't actually been scanned, so they didn't pay for it. I congratulated them for being honest and just scanned it. I even told them I probably wouldn't have done the same, haha. See, that's exactly how these things should be dealt with. You're a good human user. Shankasaurus 10, Reddit link. I found a bank card in the street one evening. Next morning took it to the local branch so they could give it to the person. Was grilled like a criminal by the snide teenage clerk. This was before contactless payments, by the way. Eventually threw it across the counter and very loudly apologized for being an honest person. Once, around when I was leaving my secondary school, we had to go round returning the school-issued textbooks and stuff. I happened to find a math textbook laying on a bench in the school somewhere. Being the good guy that I was, I picked it up and returned it along with my own textbook to the math teacher. He asked why the CD in the back of it was missing. I told him I didn't know, that I literally just found it. That's why I was turning in 2 textbooks. He threatened to charge me money for the missing CD. I think I just gave him a look, and said something snarky. In the end, he didn't charge me, but still, the nerve. Man, speaking of banks. I once found an envelope full of cash, like, literally over $1,000, clearly someone's entire paycheck in there, sitting beside the sidewalk just outside my bank. I could have just stuffed it in my purse and literally no one would have been the wiser, but I took it into the bank intending to turn it into the teller when I cashed my own check, and wouldn't you know it, the old man who had dropped it was in line ahead of me, berating that poor teller like it was her fault. I guess he'd lost the money on the way out to his car, realized he was moneyless, and then instead of retracing his steps to see if he dropped it, just immediately jumped to attacking the poor teller, who obviously couldn't just give him an extra $1,000 plus. Against my better judgment, I got his attention and told him that his money had been on the ground outside and handed him the envelope. I swear, the absolutely filthy look he gave me when he snatched that money out of my hand made me think I should have just kept it and let him suffer for being such a massive raging jerkass. I have a bra I bought years ago that still has a security tag stuck on it because by the time I noticed it was still there, the receipt was long gone. I'm guessing the cashier deactivated it but didn't remove it. Or if I did beep walking out the store, one of the employees just waved it off saying it happens sometimes. Either way, I felt like it would have been weird going back being like, "Hey, I don't have the receipt anymore but I bought this, can you take the tag off?" ETA, thanks for the tips for removing the tag. I had tried to figure it out when I had discovered the tag was still there, but I couldn't figure out what kind it was. It's one of the longer rectangular ones, and didn't want to risk it exploding ink. Looks like I'll need to get myself a strong magnet. Just for your information, and I am not condoning theft or dishonesty, you can get security tags off with a rubber band. Backstory: I used to work at a retail chain that didn't have security tags, but we would periodically get merchandise transfers from stores that did. They always had the effing security tags still on them. We didn't have a way to get them off, and my happy ass wasn't driving 90 minutes to make the other store take it off, so I got really good at removing them. Shrug. If it's the ink one, try a good magnet. Bought a shirt and noticed the security tag on it, and the clerk at the store said it's just a magnet used to separate them. If it's the ink one, put it in the freezer before you try wrestle it off. If it does break, you won't ruin the item. Also used to work in retail. I used to work at a servo, Australian for gas station, and it was amazing how many people came back, embarrassed and apologetic that they had driven away forgetting to pay for their fuel. I just laughed and thanked them for being honest. And that's how you do it. Like, my dude, if I was really trying to steal this tin of tomatoes, would I come back in and pay for it? The whole thing was confusing, baffling and scary. I accidentally didn't pay for a shower caddy a few weeks ago. I had hung it on the outside of the trolley as it was so full. I noticed when unloading and went back in to pay for it. The staff were a bit shocked I came back, but they certainly didn't charge me with theft. It was expensive and I would have felt guilty using it every day. £30 is a small price to pay for peace of mind. Yeah, I just can't fathom how anyone would get you or stealing this from "Oh hey, can I pay for this?" It sounds like you had a nice, normal interaction. I feel you on the guilt. That's why I went back to pay. Now I neurotically check every item before I leave. NTA. The manager is just mad he has to eat a $800 plus loss. It's actually his fault, because in the end, he's the one responsible. You bought the computer. You have a receipt and honestly it's yours now. You don't need to take it back. His threats are BS. The only one of real merit is that he can ban you from the store, but really, I wouldn't shop there after this anyway. NTA, this is pretty much word for word what I was going to say. He's just mad that he or someone under him messed up. You definitely don't want to go back there anymore regardless of whether you take the PC back or not, because he sounds like a moron, so the store ban is moot. Unless you have some very strange legislation in your region, you should be completely protected by consumer rights laws and so on. The contract of sale was completed and finalized once they accepted your money and you walked away with the item of purchase. Your friend is probably either incredibly objective or incredibly jealous, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. This is more of a moral question, and I regard myself as having strong morals, but if I picked up a computer for a 90% discount and the manager phoned me with abuse afterwards and telling me it was a mistake, I'd be A. laughing my head off, and B. having very strong reproductive impulses. I don't know, I'd probably be inclined to shop at a place they sell $900 computers for $90. At least where I live, consumer laws only protect you if you unknowingly get such a steal price. If either party is aware of the mistake and still goes through with the deal, the other party has rights to turn the contract moot once they are aware of it. Of course, if it only happens sometimes, there is no way to prove intent. Also, something about false advertising or something, I don't know. Technically not false advertising. She paid the advertised price. The manager or one of the regular workers screwed up with the pricing though. NTA, you paid the price it said it was and they finalized the transaction. They can't just claim it costs 1000% more the next day. Everyone would try to sell their stuff that way. Oh, it's $1. Until tomorrow, if you decide you like it and don't want to return it, you'll have to pay another $100. Nope. Yep. That's why this is explicitly illegal in many places. As much as I think the store manager is a butthole, he may have some legal remedies under contract law principles in the US. One would be unilateral mistake and the other would be quantum merit, unjust enrichment. But it would cost him more than $800 to pursue those claims in the court and the outcome would be uncertain. As far as the police go, that's complete BS. This is a civil matter and you have a colorable claim to the computer. If he wasn't so unpleasant, he might have been able to negotiate something with OP, but his bullying tactics had backfired. NTA. He may have some legal remedies under contract law principles in the US. Not a chance. I believe I have seen this scenario when the purchaser is a subject matter expert and knows that the item they are buying is worth way more than they are paying, like an art dealer buying a piece of art that they know is genuine and then the seller thinks it is a copy or a fake. I can't find it now because every search brings up cases of art fraud as in selling a fake. Those situations imply a level of malice on behalf of the buyer. Not applicable here. Like with the car, am I the butthole where original post knew there was a mistake and just went with it and basically said F the store when they pointed out the mistake? This one original post couldn't have known there was a mistake and is in the clear in NTA. Not to mention it's usually something more valuable than a $900 computer. We're talking stuff like cars, fine art, and expensive jewelry. Most civil claims aren't going to be under a few $1,000s just because of how expensive it is to even go to court. Yeah, but that's a very niche situation and not the usual vendor/customer situation. I'll concede it has happened. I know of the cases you're talking about too. Wait, so if I stumble upon a $100,000 value painting at a yard sale and the seller is asking $100, which I pay, and down the road the seller sees that I have auctioned it off for $100,000, they can sue me? That seems ridiculous. Why would I need to inform them of their mistake? You don't. Using your example, you could only potentially be sued if you were an expert in authenticating art and knew its value. And even then, a whole lot of other factors are looked at. Yep. If you were an art expert who knowingly conned someone, through their own stupidity, then you could get sued. But in all other cases, it's the seller's mistake. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.